Assalamu alaikum. I'm also the current president of KARAMAH, Muslim Women Lawyers for Human Rights, and that have given me also some insight that I'd like to talk to you about. I've had a lot of conversations about sexual trafficking in particular because our focus is women. We've heard scandals about sexual trafficking emanating from circles of faith in this country and in Muslim countries. And we ask ourselves, how do we get there? Why is there this moral failure? And I think it's very important to try to understand what brought us to that point. There are many points in history where a certain development would bring you to that point, but in our particular historical moment, I think part of what brought us to this moment is compartmentalization, is separation of who you are Monday through whatever your weekend is, and then your religious weekend. I have written about that for the American Assembly. And the fact that by raising the wall of separation of church and state too high, we've made it sort of unacceptable for God to be in the public square with us every day of the week. So you could, and I worked on Wall Street, and I could use the values of Wall Street, the secular, mathematical, legal, other values that are very scientific, technological, and 20th and 21st century. I could use them to get the best results and get real good bonuses to move ahead in my career. But I left Wall Street, and I wrote about it an article. You can see it on the website of KARAMAH. I called it on being a Muslim corporate lawyer. What were the things I went through as such? And you'll be surprised how many non-Muslim people of faith wrote me to say that's exactly how they feel. You cannot just divide yourself into two entities. An entity which works in the public square Monday through Friday or Saturday or whatever, and is secular, and then on the weekend, you're a person of faith. Because if you do that, that's when you're not going to look at Pirelli. That's when you're going to look at that tire, which is $5 lower, because you know what counts? The bottom line. And the bottom line needs to be black and not red. And if that means making, taking some, cutting corners here and there, we'll do it. Somehow, this community, this society, has to come together with the leadership of, you call it clergy, there is really no clergy in Islam, but there are religious leaders. The religious leaders of all the traditions should come together and take the leadership and voice their morality in order to bring back these moral issues into the public square. You can be both a successful business person and a very good human being, and that's the real success. Capitalism cannot be blamed for this. There is ethical capitalism. There is, responsible capitalism. We have to talk about what has happened to the values in the business community, but also what is the role of media in educating the masses? And what are they telling us? If you want to get ahead, what do you have to do? I think we cannot move much further without building alliances, not only with the clergy, but also with some people in the media. The Quran is very clear that you cannot force people into prostitution. And yet, we find people who are religious doing it. How does that happen? That's the gap in consciousness that I'm talking about. And there are others who even develop jurisprudential theories to permit it to happen. For example, for those who understand Islamic jurisprudence, there is now Zawaj al-Misyaf, there is Zawaj al-Misyar, where you go into a country, find somebody, you sort of marry them for a short period, and then leave. Is that really different? Now, mind you, I'm not talking about Zawaj al-Mut'a, that's a whole other discussion. But I'm talking about Misyaf and Misyar, even Zawaj friend, all of these forms which we cannot discuss here. The very people who developed the jurisprudence for them would have years ago said it's totally unacceptable. Now they accept it. They found a way. Now, I talked about sexual trafficking, but there are all sorts of other oppressive relationships that get close to being slavery that we haven't talked about. There is white-collar oppression, where white-collar workers are expected to work nonstop, long hours, and do not get compensated for it. I know this from the days I worked on Wall Street, where one day I didn't sleep for 3 nights or days, and I had to go home for a shower after the 3rd day and be back in half an hour. Now, how is that freedom? Except that, I was not suffering from heavy debts and had the choice of leaving my job. Others didn't. So before we point to other people, we should point to ourselves. And we should have the moral courage to stand up. It might not be expedient in terms of the secular world, but you have to decide where your priorities are. What is your main allegiance? We in Islam believe in a single God. We believe in Tawheed. And what Tawheed means is that we do not associate partners with God. All the Abrahamic religions do that. But when you fail to do something out of expedience, then you're succumbing to another partner with God, another set of values, another force. And therefore, I think that it is very important that we have a conversation amongst us as we enter this very important and difficult topic. How much strength, backbone, ability to criticize each other and the world, how much can we withstand to go through it? Because the people in trafficking can withstand a lot. They have money, right? They have influence, and they have the temptation of the worldly rewards on their side. Let's not start something unless we're really ready to fight for it. And that means we really need to sit down and think about all the repercussions that could fall out of it. We are at KARAMAH trying to do our best. If there are others amongst you who would like to help, we're willing to work with you as well. We'll have that discussion at one point. But really, the bottom line, as far as this problem, is the separation in our lives between the daily modern life and the life of faith. And when we decide that we're going to be one person, not a fragmented, compartmentalized person, but one consistent person with values that we can talk about to others, just like the others could talk to us about the secular values, when we reach that point, we will be able to accomplish what we need to accomplish. Thank you.